G'day, it's Jono Break here with Monday Myth Check from The Forge Leader. And today we're going to talk about the myth of leading by example. Now, this is a funny one, right? Because at the end of the day, I want people to lead by example. But there's a point where if I just say, I'm just leading by example, well, let's first of all ask the question, what example are you actually setting? Okay, so here's a couple of things to think about just leading by example. So leading by example, it sounds really noble, right? But it can keep you stuck. It can keep your team stuck, by the way. And what happens is you do more rather than lead. All right. So as you know, this can create some real problems. You stay in the trenches too long. Okay. So you're doing more stuff. You're involved more in the day-to-day. You become famous for the person who gets caught in the weeds, and therefore your leadership can't elevate. A couple of other things to think about. The model, if we think about, working harder versus working smarter. Okay. Obviously what happens is you're working harder and not smarter. So your team is not really able to do much. You're taking over everything. You might be that kind of person that says, I can just do it faster and better myself. You got to learn to get over that because your team needs to be able to do stuff, and you need them to be able to do stuff so you can elevate as a leader too. So I think you also signal that leadership is all about this idea of self-sacrifice. It's going to cost me everything. Now, there is obviously a servant piece of leadership, not a piece. Leadership is serving, but there's a different way to serve. If you're not enabling your team to grow and develop, then you're not serving them well. Okay, so you've got to think about these things. So let's think about a great action item here. I want you to think about how you can lead by expectation and by empowerment, okay? These are words that are thrown around a lot more, but think about what you can expect. How can you get people to do things that are priorities, that matter? Remember, we're not just talking about the task, we're talking about the outcome, okay? We've talked about that as a great outcome in leadership. And then we start to think about how do we model priorities as a leader, right? So when we think about leading by example, lead by example, modeling priorities. I want you to stop and think about that piece of your leadership. Where are you leading by doing versus leading by modeling priorities? That'll really help you today in terms of managing your own set of priorities and getting things done. That's it for today. Leading by expectation. Wanted to unpack that as a myth check. I'm Jono Break. As always, enjoy the journey.